Hello everyone, this is Sara with Posh Pooch Designs, and today's video I'm going to show you how to make a football can cozy. Now this is called my Denver football can cozy, and the reason I called it that is you can see that it has green and white, and this reminds me of when Denver's playing and the snow starts falling on the green field. And then I made it in, of course, the Denver Broncos colors with the little football also. Now you don't have to make it in these colors. You can use any colors of worsted weight number 4 yarns that you want to. Now this is a free crochet pattern on my blog, and I'll put that blog link in the notes underneath the video. So to make the can cozy, you're going to need some worsted weight yarns. All of them are worsted weight number 4 yarns. I'm going to be using a solid green for where I have the white and green for our demonstration. And then I'm going to be using white, blue, and gray. I'm going to be doing a gray stripe with 2 blue stripes on the outside. I'm going to have this brown for our football, and then this white also on those stitches. All of these yarns, you can see I don't need very much. Doesn't take much to make this can cozy, probably not even an ounce. And you're going to be stitching today with our eye hook. This particular eye hook is a 5.25 millimeter hook. You're also going to need a needle. And we'll need this needle to stitch on these stitches, to sew on our football, and of course to weave in our ends. And the last thing you're going to need is a pair of scissors. Oh, and of course, a can. We're going to begin stitching at the bottom. We're going to start in the center and stitch out, and then work our way up the side of the can. And then I'll show you how to make that little football and sew that on. So the first thing that we need to do is make our slip knot. And then we're going to chain 4. Here's our 4 chains. The first 3 chains will count as 1 double crochet. And we're going to need a total of 10. So we're going to stitch 9 more double crochets in this 4th chain from the hook. To stitch a double crochet, yarn over, go in the chain, and pull up a loop. You'll have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over, go through the first 2, yarn over, and go through the second 2. That's a double crochet. So now we have our chain 3 and 1 double crochet. So I need to stitch 8 more double crochets so that I'll have a total of 10 double crochets. Now this might get a little tight in this one chain. You just keep going and fit them in there. Alrighty, let's see how many we have. Here's our chain 3, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I need to do 1 more. Okay, so now that we have our 10 double crochets, we're going to need to place a slip stitch to join. So we're going to go to the top of the chain 3, pull that loop through, and then that loop we just pulled through, pull it through the loop on our hook. Now we're going to chain 3. For row 2, we're going to begin. We've got our chain 3 already here, counts as 1 double crochet, and then we're going to place 1 double crochet in that same stitch as the chain 3. And then we're going to place 2 double crochets in each of the double crochets around. So we're going to go from 10 double crochets to 20. So I'm placing 2 double crochets in each of the stitches around. And this is forming the base of the bottom of our can cozy. All right, let me count and make sure I've stitched enough. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 2, 4, 6, 8. That's only 18, so I need to place 2 more double crochets. 1 and 2. We're going to join again to the top of that first chain 3, hook through, pull a loop through, and pull that loop through the loop that's on our hook, and snug that down, and chain 3. So this is the bottom of our can cozy, which is actually the outside. All right, now for row 3, we're going to be stitching a row of double crochets in the back loops only. So let's take a look here. We have a row of loops that we normally stitch in right here. The front loop is the loop that's facing you. The back loop is the loop that's facing away from you. And we're going to stitch only 1 double crochet in each stitch around, only stitching in the back loop. So I've already got my chain 3 in this first stitch, so we'll go to the next stitch, and I'm going to stitch in that back loop only and stitch a double crochet. Yarn over, go in the back loop only, and stitch a double crochet. When you're stitching in the back loop only, you'll see a little line of stitches right across here. That's the front loop. And this is going to help the can cozy sit up for the edge. So we're stitching 1 double crochet in each stitch around, only stitching in the back loops. And this is the only row that we'll have to do the back loops only. Now again, you should only have 20 double crochets at the end of this row. And one thing, when you join, sometimes it's easy to accidentally add an extra stitch. So really watch that on this project and on every project. For some reason, and I've done it too, it's easy to add an extra stitch when we join. All right, I'm almost around here. You can see it's really starting to form the can cozy. All right, let's go back through and make sure I stitched enough. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I've got my 20 stitches. Again, I'm going to join to the top of the chain 3 with a slip stitch. Put my hook through, pull the loop through, then pull the loop through onto my hook and chain 3. For the next 2 rows, we're going to be placing 1 double crochet in each stitch around, but we're not stitching in the back loops anymore. We did that merely so that the can cozy would sit up and look nice and even. All right, so we're going to stitch 1 double crochet in each double crochet around, join to the top of the chain 3, and then repeat that. For row 4 and row 5, we're stitching 1 double crochet in each double crochet around. So just to repeat, for row 4 and row 5, 1 double crochet in each double crochet around, join to the top of the chain 3 and chain 3. Now at the end of row 5, don't chain 3 because we're going to be changing colors. So this is row 4, and then we'll do another row of 1 double crochet in each double crochet around. So I finished row 5. I joined to the top of my chain 3 like I did on the previous rows, and now I'm going to change colors. I'm going to be using this royal blue and this gray for the stripes like we have on here, only I'm going to be using the royal blue on the outside and the gray on the inside. Now, one thing that I do when I'm making something like this where I'm going to be changing back to my main color is I do not cut this yarn. I leave it and will let it trail on the inside. Now I'm going to grab my blue and I'm going to join it in. We're going to snug that down and then chain 1, and then I always pull that blue one or the new one in just so that it's snugged down as well. And what we're going to be doing on this row is we're going to make a row of single crochets. To make a single crochet, we go in the next stitch and pull up a loop. You'll have just those 2 loops on your hook. Yarn over and go through both those loops. And we'll do this all the way around, placing 1 single crochet in each of the double crochets around. And this is just the accent stripe. Now you can make these colors any colors that you want for any team, school team, sports team, NFL, college teams that you want. And I actually am doing the blue and silvery gray because someone who's a Dallas Cowboys fan asked me to. So as you can see, I'm single crocheting 1 single crochet in each single crochet around. Now from here on out, for the stitch count, it will always be 20 stitches. It won't get any bigger or any smaller. All right, whoops. Snug that in a little too tight, get my last stitch in. And now I'm going to join to that first, not the chain 1, but the first single crochet with a slip stitch. And I'm actually going to let that one stay on too because I'm going to switch to the gray, and then when I'm done with the gray, I'm going to switch back to the blue. And when you can tail along or trail along on the inside, it just saves you from having to weave in some extra ends. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and join in my gray again, or not again, but to begin with. We're going to make that chain 1, snug that down, and then we're going to repeat what we just did. 1 single crochet in each stitch around. That's the accent stripe, like I did on here with the Broncos colors. There we go. One single crochet in each single crochet around. And again, you should only have 20 stitches. All right, we're almost around. Oops, I got a little string stuck. There we go. Now we're almost around, and because we're only doing this one row of the silvery gray color here, we're going to go ahead and tie off. So I'm going to make my last stitch. I'm going to slip stitch in that first single crochet. I'm going to go ahead and cut off my string because I'm done with the gray. And we'll weave those in after a bit, but I'm going to grab my blue because I'm making a second stripe of blue. Get in there. There we go. Join that in, snug that down, make a chain one, and then just begin making your single crochets like we did on the 2 previous rows. One single crochet in each single crochet around. I did the last row of the blue for my, what I call these accent stripes. And now it's time to change back to the green color. So I'm going to go ahead and cut the blue off. And I'm going to join my green back in. And then we're going to chain 3. You snug that blue one back down. There we go. So here's my chain 3. And we're going to go back to doing 1 double crochet in each double crochet around. And we'll do this for 3 rows. So 1 double crochet in each of the single crochets around. And don't forget, your stitch count still needs to be 20 double crochets around. So we're going to make 1 double crochet in each stitch around, and we're going to do this row, and then we'll do 2 more rows like we did on this one. Here's our accent stripe, and we're going to need to do 1, 2, 3 rows of 1 double crochet in each stitch around, join to the top of the chain 3 and chain 3. Except on the last row, don't chain 3, we're going to tie off. Joining to the top of my chain 3 with a slip stitch, and chain 3. And then, like I said, I'll repeat this for 2 more rows. I finished the last row of my 3 rows of double crochet, and I'm going to tie off my yarn. So I cut it, and I'm going to tie that off. And then I like to go inside and pull that through to the back, and then I can weave that in. I'm going to go ahead and just pull it down. There we go, and just tuck that in for now. And this is the way your can cozy should look at this point. Well, now it needs the little football. So to make the little football applique, we're going to be using this white for the striping, but we're going to use this brown to make the little football. And we're going to begin the same way we did at the bottom of the can cozy. We're going to make our slip knot. We're going to chain 4. And then we're going to place 9 double crochets in this 4th chain from the hook, because the first 3 chains count as our first double crochet. There's 5. All right. My count says that's 10, but let's make sure. So here's my chain 3 that counts as my first double crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oopsie. 1 too many. Take it out. We'll join to the top of our chain 3 with the slip stitch. And we're only going to chain 1, as this is the center of our little football. So now we're going to make some different sorts of stitches in order to make the little points on our football. So we're going to place 1 single crochet in the next stitch. So let's place 1 single crochet. Get in there. So there's our 1 single crochet. Next, we're going to place 1 half double crochet in this next stitch. To stitch a half double crochet, you yarn over, go in the stitch, pull up a loop. You'll have those 3 loops on there. You'll yarn over and you'll go through all 3 of those loops. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to place 3 double crochets in the next stitch. 1, pull out some more yarn here. Oopsie. 2, 3. So we stitched a single, a half double, and then 3 double crochets in 1 stitch. So now we're going to go to the next stitch and stitch a half double crochet, just like we did earlier. And then we're going to place 1 single crochet in the next stitch. So this gives us our little pointed shape on this side. So now, there we go, we're going to do the same thing on the other side. We're going to place a single crochet, a half double crochet in the next stitch, and then this next stitch we're going to place 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. And then we'll place 1 half double in the next stitch, and then we'll end with a single crochet, in the next stitch, and then we'll just join to that first single crochet. Now, when you're cutting off, make sure to leave yourself a good amount of yarn. I'm going to say about 12 to 18 inches. I always leave myself too much, just in case, because we're going to use that yarn to sew that on to our can cozy. But let's go ahead and tie that off. Just pull that yarn through, snug that down. There's our little football. Now, if you ended up with a hole, you can use your needle to close that hole. Just thread that on the needle, that beginning tail, and you can go around that. There we go. And just close that up. Sometimes when I make these little footballs, I'll get a little hole, and sometimes I won't. Just depends on how I am stitching that day. We'll go ahead and clip that off. That is the back side. So here's our little football that we made. Here's our yarn we're going to use to sew that on. But first of all, we're going to cut off a piece, and we're going to make this little stitch on the front just so that it looks like a football. Right now it just sort of looks like an almond. All right, so I've cut off a piece of yarn about, 18 inches. Again, probably more than I need. There we go. And what I do is I start right in the like in that center. There's 3 double crochets that we put on each end. I'm going to go in the bottom of that center double crochet. I'm going to hold that back part with my finger, and I'm just going to make a couple of stitches like this. I'm going to make 1, then I'm going to go back in, come out, and this just gives me a line to work with. Okay, so there's my line to add my stitches to. And now I'm just going to randomly add some stitches. Now, one thing to remember is you want to go in stitches and not holes, or you'll lose your little stitches. And you can make as many or as few as you would like. It's kind of up to you. And I come up on this side and go down on the other side. I think it just helps keep the stitches in place. There we go. And you might have to work a little to get in those stitches, but I think they're going to hold better if you put them in stitches themselves and not through the holes. There we go. All right. And then I like to make sure I've got one on the ends. There's the little football. I'm going to turn it over, and then I'm going to weave these in. Now, make sure when you're weaving these in that they don't come through to the front, because you don't want those seen on the front. And that one, whoopsie, I left it a little long, so I'm just going to take my hook and pull it under here. Because remember, this is going to be sewed onto your can cozy, and so the back of that's not going to be seen. So here's our little football all ready to go and to be put on our can cozy. So here's my can cozy and my football, and I'm going to center that. I like having it at an angle. If you want to put it up and down or sideways, however you want to do it, I kind of like having it at an angle. And the way that I do it, actually I want to put it this way. The way that I do it is I go follow along those stitches, and you want to make sure that it can stretch just a little bit, so don't stitch too tightly, but stitch tight enough where it's going to hold. And I just go back and forth And if you want to pin this in place, you can, if it makes you feel a little better that it's going to stay put. Trying to turn my arm there. There we go. This is just how I do it. I just gently go in. And again, you want to try to go through stitches on this because you don't want it pulling on the holes in the crochet. And I just go along those edges. Now, once I get back around where I started, you'll notice it might kind of pooch up a little bit. What I do is I'll go back under and I'll just make a few stitches so that it's going to stay put without pooching too much, making sure I stay in the brown area because you want it to blend in. If you stitch over those white marks that we put in there, that's not going to look too good. All right, so now I'm going to turn it over. You can see all those stitches. I'm going to make sure I weave this in behind the football so my colors don't show. All right, and you can just weave that in until you're comfortable that it's going to stay put. All right, so here's our can cozy. Let me grab a can. There we go. This one's all ready to go. So this is the one that's solid green with different colors and a lighter football. Here's one that's got the Denver snow field on it. And these are super fun to make great gifts. And this is how you make my Denver football can cozy.